Is dairy really bad for you? If you want to be healthy, you gotta cut out your butter and your animal meats too. We're gonna go ahead and break that down in this video.
Hey guys, my name is Michelle, Anita,
Sarah,
Peyton, Talia, Jazz, Marquita.
I'm a physique.
Product. Period. You love to see.
You already know what this is. It is Trehunna from Physique. I have a lot of clients who is finally learning about nutrition. They're learning about food, and they're like,
well, Trey, I heard all my life that I'm supposed to be cutting out dairy. I gotta cut out my butter.
well, I gotta be mindful of animal meats too. So in this video, we're gonna talk about exactly where did this paradigm even came about, and why if your body can actually tolerate the dairy, the butter, the animal meats, why you have nothing to worry about. But once again, everybody's body type is different. The main reason why a lot of people heard this notion that dairy and butter and animal meats is bad for you is simply because these things are higher in something called saturated fat. So saturated fat is basically a lipid that is a little bit more stable, shelf stable. That's why when you have butter outside of the refrigerator, if you are not heating it up, it is regular, it is stable. When you even have coconut oil and it's not too hot, you can literally leave coconut oil out in room temperature and it's gonna be stable. Why? These are saturated fats. It's not going to melt. But when you have something like cottonseed oil, or for some people margarine, rapeseed oil, or canola oil, these are polyunsaturated fats, which means that it got multiple double bonds in it. What a double bond is, long story short, it got a bend in a carbon chain. So now it is a little bit more fluid. And because it's a little bit more fluid, it's never really going to be hard, right? It's always gonna stay a fluid in room temperature, when you put it in the refrigerator, everything like that. But also because it got a double bond in it, what's gonna happen is it can easily be a little bit more oxidized than something that is saturated. For instance, if you are cooking with something like canola oil or peanut oil or grapeseed oil or palm oil, you're gonna cause a little bit more oxidation, or this oil can go rancid faster than something like butter or something like ghee or lard or beef tallow, right? So if that's the case, why do they tell us dairy is bad for you? The reason being is because saturated fat also can make your cholesterol raise. So when you're eating things like polyunsaturated fats, so nuts, seeds, almonds, salmon, fish, things like that, these are high in polyunsaturated fats. And what these do, these actually are able to bring in the LDL that's inside your bloodstream. When you're having more things like saturated fats, more animal fats, then these actually are saturated fats that makes your body mobilize a little bit more LDL. Now the LDL is the thing that you heard all your life that was bad cholesterol. Believe it or not, LDL is not a bad cholesterol. What it actually does, it actually is able to transport the fats and energy and the cholesterol, which is your cell membrane backbone, to the cells. So your body actually needs LDL, and it needs a good amount of LDL. What the issue is, based off our diet nowadays, us eating high fatty diets along with, that matters the most, high carb diet, when you have these things together, now you're putting yourself into a metabolic cascade. If you're gonna eat a whole lot of fat or saturated fats, butter, coconut oil, a lot of animal meats, you gotta be a little bit more mindful with your carb intake versus somebody who's eating a whole lot of carbs, more breads, more apples, more mangoes. They want to be a lot more mindful with their saturated fat intake. But because we live in America, and a lot of people eat a SAD diet, which is a standard American diet, that is the burger with the fries. That is the burger with the bun. That is the pancakes where we slapping butter on top. It is the potato, but we're putting sour cream and butter and chives and cheese and bacon. That is the associations we have with food. And you pair it all together, that is the issue within itself.
Oh, well, if I eat too much saturated fat, it's going to clog up my arteries.
Right? But that's not how the human body works, y'all. So if you're tracking your fats, let's say you're supposed to only have about 80 grams of fat in a day, then that means you want to only have about 20 grams of that fat being saturated. So be mindful of your saturated fats, especially if you're still gonna play around a little bit with your carb intake, right? But when you're having saturated fat and your body is receiving it, what it's actually going to do is going to convert this saturated fat into oleic acid. Guess what? That is literally olive oil. You heard all your life that olive oil is good for you because it is a monounsaturated fat. So your body is able to convert this saturated fat into the better type of fat for its body. But what a lot of people do not know is when you're eating a lot of carbs. Now keep in mind, when it comes to the carb intake, you're supposed to give your body the amount of carbs that it actually needs based off how active you are. So just to give you a rule of thumb, if you're somebody who's not active, you live a regular desk job, you barely work out, the only time you walk is when you go into your car and back, you're only supposed to have 100 grams of carbs per day or less. And keep in mind, you want to have 100 grams of carbs coming from majority fruits and vegetables, not a lot of starches. Starches do not have as much vitamins and minerals and polyphenols and antioxidants. So make sure majority of your carbs is coming from fruits and vegetables, especially if you want to be on this earth as long as possible. Starches or things that are white, if it don't got any crazy color to it, it's not bright like a blueberry, it's not purple like an eggplant, it's not bright red like a tomato, then that means it don't have any polyphenols or flavonoids in it. And these are the antioxidants that your body needs to combat this reactive oxygen species. So a lot of people, when they're hearing that saturated fat is bad for you because it clogs their arteries, what is happening is that LDL that's in their body is now being oxidized. And oxidation basically means it's now breaking down and it's now dysfunctional. So imagine a taxi that's going around your body. That's all what an LDL is. But now imagine this taxi, it got one bum tire and now the shocks are bad. Now you're feeling every single bump in the road and now this ride is unfavorable. That's what's kind of happening in your body when your LDL is being oxidized. But once again, if this LDL or this taxi in this case never got into a car accident and the roads are clear and there's no potholes on the street, this car can run effectively for 10 to 15, 20 to its whole entire lifetime. It's when this car gets damaged. Now it's gonna cause problems. But now when your LDL is being oxidized in your body, what is causing that? Highly refined carbs, a whole lot of sugar, a whole lot of processed foods, and a whole lot of seed oils. Once you start incorporating all these things, now it's gonna make these roads, which is your arteries and vessels, with more potholes in it. So now when these potholes are coming about inside your arteries and vessels and these LDLs are entrapped in there, if you hit a pothole hard enough, then your whole tire is gonna go out. And now this taxi is out of commission. The LDL is not the issue. The taxi is not the issue. It was the roads that was placed on and the accumulation of damage being done to this taxi. That is the issue. Imagine your body has a set amount of carbs it can have. You're eating like vegetables and fruit, you're filling up this water, but not a lot. When you're having things like rice and sweet potatoes, it's going higher and higher faster. Like, what happens if you keep eating more carbs? What happens if you have that Doritos with that Subway sandwich after you had that bacon, egg, and cheese earlier that day? What happens when you get home and then you're gonna have your rice with your vegetable, with your one sliver of protein, and then you gotta have your snack or glass of wine later at night. Now that this glass is spilling over, and what your liver is gonna do with this excess carbs is
gonna say, hey, we're not gonna waste it. Let's convert these carbs or carbons into fat
through a process called de novo lipogenesis. But guess what? When your body's liver is converting this regular carbs into fat, it's gonna turn it into a palmitic acid or palmitate or simply saturated fat. So it is not the saturated fat that you're eating that is clogging up your arteries. It is the saturated fat that your body is producing based off you not controlling how much carbohydrates you're having in your diet that is causing you now to start having more plaquing in your arteries. So if you're somebody who's at risk for heart attacks and you're somebody who knows you got a risk factor of having a little bit more hypertension or diabetes, then you need to pay attention to your carbohydrates, not your saturated fats. Where people go wrong is they have the burger, but then they have the bacon on top of the burger, and then they have the bun, which got 30 to 40 ingredients in it, but then they got the fries, but then they got the Coke. So I just named about 2 very high carb sources with some saturated fat. That's what's gonna cause you to become metabolically unhealthy. Okay? Do not be afraid of dairy. If your body can tolerate dairy, and the only way you know if your body can tolerate dairy is every single time you eat it, you're not experiencing a lot of bloating, your gut is not being distressed, you're not blowing up the bathroom later. That means your body can tolerate dairy, all right? So you can have dairy. Dairy is not unhealthy for you. It's when you having the dairy, butter, on top of the toast, carb, starch. That is when it becomes unhealthy for you. So once again, I want y'all to pay attention to making sure you're being intentional. If you know you're gonna have a lot of fat that day, you're gonna have some animal meats, right? You're gonna have some chicken, or you know what, you're gonna have that steak with the truffle butter on top. Instead of you getting the fries, which is highly calorically dense starch, go ahead and get the vegetables as a side. Do not get a salad, because at the end of the day, that salad dressing that you're gonna put on the salad is made up with a lot of seed oils. And when you are out and about, you wanna order a side, order spinach. I don't care if they add some glaze to it. Order Brussels sprouts. I don't care if they add almonds and a glaze to it. That is a way better choice than you having a salad, which is just lettuce, and you're just adding a whole lot of dressing and olive oil on it, and you're not measuring it out. Salads are great for you, but do not get a Caesar salad or American chopped salad. If you want a salad, it better have some radicchio in it, or some endive in it, or some arugula in it, or some kale in it, or some spinach in it. If it's just a romaine iceberg lettuce salad and that's what you only see on the menu, do not order it, because you're just better off getting the exact same ranch or dressing that you want, getting a tablespoon and eating it like that, because lettuce has no calories in it, it got no vitamins and no minerals in it. Once again, if your body can tolerate dairy, make sure you're incorporating that into your daily regimen, especially if you like it. And once again, dairy is not gonna kill you, and dairy is not bad for you. Animal meats is not bad for you. If you're somebody who cannot break down animal meat, you might just need more digestive enzymes, or you gotta make your stomach a little bit more acidic. So just go ahead and check out this product, boom, which is digestive enzymes, and go ahead and check out this product, which is ox bile. This is gonna help you, especially if you have no gallbladder, to actually break down this red meat. That way you don't feel so heavy after you eat it. And always have that before your meal or with your meal. If you need a cheaper remedy or something real quick, make sure you're taking a shot of apple cider vinegar every single day or 30 minutes before a meal, and make sure you dilute it with some water. That way you're not messing up your teeth enamel. Cool? But that's your reset tip of the day. It's gonna be stay snatched all the time, no the summertime, and I'll talk to y'all soon.